Europe, a continent of ancient empires, brilliant thinkers, devastating wars, and revolutions that reshaped the world. From the first humans who stepped onto this landmass to the modern European Union, Europe's history is a story of conflict, cooperation, innovation, and reinvention. In this documentary, we'll travel across thousands of years, through the rise and fall of Rome, the glory of the Renaissance, the age of exploration, the World Wars, the Cold War, and the construction of today's modern Europe. This is the complete history of Europe. The story begins long before written records. Prehistoric Europe was shaped by waves of migrating humans. The earliest known Europeans, Neanderthals, thrived for hundreds of thousands of years until modern humans arrived roughly 45,000 years ago. As ice ages came and went, Europe transformed into fertile plains, thick forests, and river basins, ideal for the rise of agriculture. Around 6000 BCE, farming communities spread from the Near East into Europe. Villages appeared, tools improved, and societies began shaping identity through pottery, burial rituals, and early trade networks. Then came the Bronze Age, with metal weapons, long-distance trade, and fortified settlements. Cultures like the Celts emerged, spreading across Central and Western Europe. By the Iron Age, the stage was set for organized societies, tribal kingdoms, and eventually, empires.
The 7 most breathtaking facts about ancient Greece. Ancient Greece is the birthplace of democracy. The ancient Greeks started the Olympic Games. Greek mythology features captivating stories of titans and heroes. Greece is renowned for its stunning architectural marvels. Greek philosophers like Socrates and Aristotle made significant contributions. Greek theater laid the foundation for modern dramatic arts. Ancient Greek art exemplifies timeless aesthetic appeal.
When we talk about European civilization, ancient Greece stands as one of its greatest roots. Around 800 BCE, city-states, known as polis, began forming. The most influential among them, Athens and Sparta. Athens pioneered democracy, philosophy, drama, architecture, and science. Giants like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the foundations of Western thought. Sparta, on the other hand, built a society focused entirely on military discipline and training. In 480 BCE, the Greeks united against the Persian Empire, achieving legendary victories at Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. Soon after, under Alexander the Great, Greek culture spread across Egypt, Persia, and India, creating the Hellenistic world, where art, science, philosophy, and trade flourished like never before. Greece changed the world. But another rising power would soon overshadow it.
Every empire has a beginning, forged of blood, steel, fortune, and conquest. In 1453, Roman Emperor Constantine XI and Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II wage an epic battle for Constantinople. 23 armies have tried to take the legendary city. All have failed. Out of the carnage, one ruler will emerge victorious and change the course of history for the next 300 years. For one empire to rise, another must fall.
If the great empire of Rome must end tonight, let it not go easily. Sharpen your swords and steel your souls, for we fight as brothers, as Romans! Augustus, Justinian, Constantine, they will be watching!
100,000 soldiers ascending the treacherous Alps. This was the greatest ambush ever attempted by a military leader. Hannibal Barca, a Carthaginian general fueled by vengeance, led his men and war elephants through snow, ice, and death. The mountains swallowed half his army, but in 218 BC, when he finally descended into Italy, Rome was caught with its pants down. Over the next few years, Hannibal humiliated the world's greatest military on its own soil. He struck such fear into Roman hearts that for generations, parents warned misbehaving children with Hannibal ad portas. Hannibal is at the gates.
The Roman Republic began as a small city but grew rapidly through military strength, political strategy, and engineering genius. By 27 BCE, Rome transformed into an empire under its first emperor, Augustus. For centuries, Rome dominated Europe, stretching from Britain to the Middle East. Its achievements included roads spanning thousands of kilometers, aqueducts bringing water to massive cities, a professional legal system, monumental architecture like the Colosseum. The empire brought peace, Pax Romana, for nearly 200 years. But Rome also faced internal conflicts, corruption, and invasions. In 476 CE, the Western Roman Empire collapsed, marking the end of ancient Europe. The East, known as the Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years, but Western Europe entered a new era. After Rome fell, Europe fragmented into various kingdoms, the Franks, Visigoths, Anglo-Saxons, and others. In the 8th century, Charlemagne united much of Western Europe and became the first Holy Roman Emperor, laying foundations for modern France and Germany. Feudalism. Society revolved around land ownership. Nobles, knights, peasants, and the church created a rigid structure that shaped medieval life. The power of the Church. The Catholic Church became Europe's most influential institution. It preserved knowledge, built universities, influenced kings, controlled vast territories. The Crusades. Beginning in 1096, European knights launched military expeditions to the Middle East. Although violent, the Crusades reopened trade with the East, bringing new ideas, technologies, and goods. The Black Death. In the 14th century, plague devastated Europe, killing up to a third of the population. Society was forever changed, labor shortages weakened feudalism, and cities gained power. Despite hardship, Europe was awakening intellectually, setting the stage for one of the greatest cultural revolutions in history. Beginning in 14th century Italy, the Renaissance was a revival of classical learning, art, and humanism. Cities like Florence and Venice became centers of creativity and wealth. We witnessed the brilliance of Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, Galileo Galilei. Innovation exploded in science, anatomy, engineering, and philosophy. In 1453, the fall of Constantinople brought Greek scholars to Europe, fueling new ideas. Then in 1450, Johannes Gutenberg's printing press transformed the spread of knowledge, making books accessible for the first time in history. Europe was no longer medieval. It was becoming modern. European nations now looked outward. Portugal and Spain led the way, sending explorers like Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, Ferdinand Magellan. The discovery of the New World triggered the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of plants, animals, diseases, and cultures between continents. European empires rapidly expanded across the Americas, Africa, and Asia. This era brought immense wealth, but also colonization, exploitation, and profound global change. By the 17th and 18th centuries, Europe entered the Age of Enlightenment. Thinkers like Voltaire, Locke, Rousseau, Montesquieu challenged monarchies and promoted democracy, human rights, and reason. These ideas inspired major revolutions. The American Revolution, the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon, who briefly united Europe under his empire. Napoleon's fall in 1815 reshaped Europe's borders and sparked nationalism across the continent.
The Industrial Revolution, the birth of modern-day life. Without it, the world would be quite a bit different than how we know it today.
In the late 18th century, the Industrial Revolution, beginning in Britain, transformed Europe forever. Machines replaced manual labor. Steam engines powered factories and trains. Populations flooded into cities. Europe became the world's industrial and economic powerhouse. But this era also caused harsh working conditions, class conflict, rapid urbanization. European powers grew stronger and more competitive. The early 20th century brought unprecedented destruction. World War I. Triggered in 1914, it involved almost every major European power. Trench warfare, machine guns, and new technologies led to unimaginable carnage. The war ended in 1918, but the peace settlement caused resentment, especially in Germany. World War II. In 1939, Europe plunged into war again as Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, launched invasions across the continent. It was the deadliest conflict in history. By 1945, Europe was devastated, cities ruined, millions dead, economies shattered. But the continent would soon rebuild, and unite in ways never seen before.
Between the West, the democracies that rallied around the United States, and the East, communist nations dominated by Russia, known as the Soviet Union.
After World War II, Europe split between Western Europe, supported by the United States, Eastern Europe, under Soviet influence. This ideological struggle, capitalism versus communism, defined the Cold War. The Iron Curtain divided nations, and Germany itself split into East and West. But cooperation also grew. In 1957, 6 nations formed the European Economic Community, the beginning of the modern European Union. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989 and the Soviet Union collapsed soon after, Europe entered a new era of unity. Today, Europe is a mosaic of cultures, languages, and identities, shaped by thousands of years of triumph, conflict, creativity, and change. From ancient Greece to modern democracies, Europe's history is a reminder that civilizations rise, fall, learn, and rebuild, always moving forward.